If you can't talk, then what are you? Because at that moment, I was like, I felt very broken. So I actually called my dad, and he had told me, what if your stutter was a gift and it helped give you like the skills and hunger you need to become great? I've realized that a lot of our curses are actually our greatest gifts.
Welcome to Speak Arizona, the podcast for professionals ready to elevate their communication and leadership skills. Whether you're speaking to a crowd or leading a team, you'll get practical tips, expert insights, and inspiring stories. Join us as we dive into the craft of powerful communication and authentic leadership. Speak Arizona is powered by District 3 Toastmasters. Subscribe and take the next step to becoming the speaker and leader you want to be. Welcome to Speak Arizona, a podcast dedicated to empowering you to find your voice. Hi, I'm your host, Rupesh Prabhu. I help technical experts upgrade from being the smartest person in the room to being the most influential, one conversation at a time. Today, we have a very special guest. Matt Malins here from our home club, Dobson Ranch Toastmasters. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And do you have a quick introduction about yourself?
I work for my dad, so I do all things sales, marketing, bit of like the operations, with a little bit like all hands on deck currently. We're learning right now the art of business. When I'm not doing work right now, I'm a big runner. I do a lot of the gym. I ran 18 miles last week in like one sitting.
Excellent. Matt, the reason I brought you on the podcast is last week you gave a super powerful speech about the things you had to overcome to become the public speaker that you are today. And I had the opportunity to see you progress over the past 6-9 months or so, where you did your first speech. In fact, you didn't even show up for your first speech because of fear, to now where you're routinely speaking on the stage and the comfort level and confidence has just skyrocketed. So I wanted to bring you on the podcast to speak through that journey for others who may say, oh, these guys are already good at public speaking. But in your case, you've had tremendous growth. So I want to start the podcast. Matt, can you tell our listeners who weren't there that story of your first memory of public speaking in second grade?
Well, first, you're right. So I didn't show up for my very first speech. I called in, I think, sick or something. I came to the club 3 years ago, very off and on. And then I would go for like 2 weeks, not show up, back and forth. I think I've been going now for about 4 months straight, give or take. But no, so my story was from second grade in Miss Sylvia's class. And I got on stage, I couldn't speak really at all. But for context, I had a really bad stutter as a kid. And so from age 6 to age 18, I went through like 10 years of like speech therapy. And that was every day at school for like an hour. So it was pretty like rigorous too. But for that day though, we would make our class presentations and I couldn't speak. And so so all the kids started to laugh at me. And it was mid-speech, I started to cry. I sat back down and I was a second grader. So I was still pretty young. And from that moment, I thought I can't speak to people or on stage. And so probably the next 15 years, that was my life of not speaking to people really at all from that point.
So many of us have these moments where we try something new and we get shot down in some way or other, whether it's other second graders in a classroom or our family makes fun of us or social media, something comes up and you get certain kind of reaction. And these beliefs about ourselves are born. And in your case, you talked about that moment where you thought you couldn't be a public speaker, and
right.
Fast forward 15 years or whatever, look at you now.
I think we all have these beliefs of what we can and what we can't do. And so it's kind of scary because if you have like 20 years of data, your brain's trying to prove to you what you can, what you can't do. So in my case, it was I can't speak on stage. And so every small flunk or failure, that was my proof to me that I can't speak. And what's hard is after 20 years, it's hard to change all those beliefs overnight from where you're at now. So
Yeah, and I really liked what you said, and I'm going to quote you here. If you think something, your brain will find ways to prove you right. To me, that was such a powerful quote. Can you talk a little bit more about when you were writing or coming up with this speech, how you came up with that line and what that kind of means to you?
I think life is all perspective, right? Because maybe for you, we both go through the exact same thing, but for you, it was positive, but for me, it was like negative. And so we have these like lenses of how we see the world. And so if you think something's always gonna be like negative, you'll find that evidence each time you try and do it. Whereas for someone else, if they're trying to learn through speaking, they'll find those like chances to learn from what they did wrong. But in my case, it was always like I screw this up every time. And so my brain would try and prove that to me. And the problem is, once you believe something, you can do all the chants you want to, but if you don't actually believe you can change, you won't take the steps you need to go from that point.
I teach yoga, which I often bring up on this podcast, which is also another exercise in communication, which I love. But one of the things my instructor who taught me how to teach yoga, his name is Jeff, he used to share this story of a person, you, entering a mall, and you're going down an escalator and you're seeing this food court with a fountain, and there's two people, you and maybe someone else, going down the escalator, and you're in a great mood, things have been going well for you, and you see a couple smiling into each other's eyes, and you see kids playing around the fountain, and you see a family celebrating together, being together,
right?
And then someone right next to you who's maybe not in the best mood, they're on the same escalator, they're looking at this same group of people, and they see one of the stores is closed, it says going out of business, and they see a teenage couple fighting and arguing, and they see a person on their own, very depressed, just sitting there eating or something. And the message of the story is what you see and how you interact with yourself. There's a lens, like you said. It's not what you see is what you get. You have these lenses and these filters that you unconsciously, very unconsciously, experience the world through. And in your case, you talked about the I can't do public speaking lens, and every time you did something wrong, that was highlighted in your head. And so I really like that connection and that thought of, we have a listener, our listeners are people maybe interested in learning to become public speakers, and they may have the number one fear of public speaking. So I really like this story of, if you think something, your brain will find ways to prove it. So you've got to adjust that perspective.
Right. I think, too, it's all like your words. And to your point, you don't know what you don't know. And so we have all of these beliefs that you don't know that you have them. And I think for me, it's like, what are like your goals currently? And we all have those like fears about what that goal like takes to be able to like reach it. And so for me, I had all these goals, but I would try and hide. Like my whole like high school years, I just hid. From 16 to 18, I was basically mute. I didn't talk to people at all for those 2 years because I was scared to stutter like in front of them. And so I was trying to stay safe. And then I joined homeschool to avoid all people. So I went from that to talking to you right now. So
wow.
It's a big journey for me.
Super inspiring too. That's amazing. Like, I didn't know that about you. And the fact that now you can speak at our home Toastmasters Club, which is arguably the biggest.
It's massive. It's got like 60 people, right?
And it's got many professional speakers in there. And for you to be up there with confidence and the transformation, that's amazing. I'm so impressed. The other thing that I think is related to this is you talked about words controlling us in your speech. And I really like that concept. What are some of the maybe either differences you see now in the words that you tell yourself when you get on stage versus then? Or just talk to me about how those words can control you or free you.
And so I call them the spells, like black magic, white magic. And so if you have the black magic, it's like words that control you. So it's words that bring you down. You can't do something. It's like impossible. I think I went from thinking this can't be done ever to now I think I'm learning. So if I flop on stage, it wasn't a failure. It was I learned, okay, next time, don't do this, talk slower, try this story next time. Like I think black or white thinking is kind of dangerous when it comes to learning a new skill because you can't ever be perfect. You have to do baby steps very slowly to grow in that area of that skill.
Yeah. Have you seen this mindset shift, this self-esteem and confidence that I've seen you build in public speaking over the last, 4 or 5 months,
Right.
translate to any other areas of your life where maybe you had some beliefs of, I can't do this, and you're like, wait a second, I did this public speaking thing. Maybe I can try this other thing.
I think just being here, because you learn through Toastmasters that you can fight your fear, that you aren't your fear. You can still get up there even if you're feeling kind of nervous. And so from doing a podcast to going to some event or like a phone call, because life is fear, but you can't let fear like control you in that way. I think for me, though, the big thing is the people around you. Because if you have great people who are always like positive and they're going after their dreams, you feel like the same way over time as being like, around them constantly.
Yeah, that reminds me of a story when I first started working, and this was back in the day, okay? And I had an office, which is also aging me. I had my own office, and I had a desk phone, also aging me. And I remember being very awkward having business conversations on the phone, and that being uncomfortable. You brought back a good memory. But you also mentioned something else you mentioned that I wanted to get into. You mentioned positive people around you. Can you talk about the positive people around you? Obviously, you've put in a lot of self-work and effort and to make this change. But are there other people who helped you get to where you are now?
Yeah, I would say it's your people like around you. So like your top 5 people that control like your entire life. And so for me, I came to Toastmasters very often on. I would come like 3 years ago for like 2 weeks, not show up. And this lasted for years and years. But like half a year ago, I met a man named Don Radcliffe. And he got my email and he like spammed me with all of these questions about how I was doing, to come back to Toastmasters. So it's kind of like someone was like rooting for me. Because before it was all on my shoulders to come to these meetings, and I didn't like coming because it was awkward and nerve-wracking. But for someone to like believe in me, to coach me, because I would come to his house and practice speaking over and over again. And for me, that was like someone's like training me, like someone cares enough about my life to help me to know to do X, Y, and Z better for my speech. So I think for that, for sure.
Yeah, I think it underscores the importance of coaches and mentors, or just being there for other people in the ways that you can. For example, that's the reason I'm really passionate about this podcast and sharing your super inspiring story, because I want to inspire other people to get better at public speaking, which I think is so important. And you're this example of huge transformation that to me is just super exciting.
Thank you. And there was like a moment actually where I couldn't even say like one word. Like even just like saying like Matthew, I couldn't do that. So I served as like a missionary for my church for 2 years. So I went from being some mute kid to now I'm talking to strangers 24/7 for 2 years. And so the first 6 months of that for me were hell, because I'm now knocking on doors, doing phone calls. I'm freezing my butt off. And I felt all this like anxiety constantly of just trying to just talk. And at that point, one word wasn't possible for me. And so there was like one time, I think for me, from my rock bottom, was someone asked, hey, what's your name? And I tried to say Matthew, and I couldn't say it. Because I think talking's human, right? And if you can't talk, then kind of like, what are you? Because at that moment, I was like, I felt very broken, because if I can't perform, then where am I? Like, what camp am I in for that? So I actually called my dad and said, hey, I want to come home early from this whole like mission trip. And he had told me, what if your stutter was a gift and it helped give you like the skills and hunger you need to become great? Because I realized that most kids, they can just talk, right? I would spend like 1 hour on this like one sentence just to try and like the tonality of it, the pacing, tricks to not stutter on it. So I learned how to work hard because of that. So I've realized that a lot of our curses are actually our greatest gifts, but we hide that from ourselves. Because for me, I hid my entire life because you don't want people to see you at your worst. You want people to love you. So I think we all have those things, whether it's anxiety, depression, or your own parts of yourself you hide from people. I think are actually your greatest gifts, and it shows what you can do in like the future in that way.
I love how you reframed that challenge or just this thing about you. You have a stutter, and you can either look at it through the lens of this is going to hold me back and I want to
Right.
give up, or this is teaching me a skill, and that skill is how do I focus? How do I work hard? How do I spend time doing something and getting better? And that's a skill that, and I'll bring it back to myself. I've always felt somewhat comfortable public speaking. But
Uh-huh.
what that's meant is I feel like it's much easier and is easier for me to plateau, because when it comes to, I've been doing different things for the club. When
Right.
it comes to speaking, I don't think, I don't need to prepare for that. And there's so many moments where I'm like, dang, I wish I prepared for that, because
Right.
I wasn't as clear, as concise. I'm very passionate about changing things for the better, and because of my comfort with public speaking, I'm not driven to really focus on my words and really focus on the craft. So anyway, I really
Or
appreciate.
I had to. I had that
Yeah.
hunger because I had no choice.
Yeah.
Because to your point, most people don't think about random phone calls because it's just natural. So I had that hunger where maybe someone else didn't have that same drive. Plus, I think just finding happiness, because my entire life was rejection, so it didn't phase me as much because no one was really there for me. I had to get help, I guess. I think you can learn a lot from pain, and you can grow from that. 'Cause I think you can't control your deck that you've been given in life. You have to just play it and do like your very best from that point. Like you can't control your DNA, but you can just go from that point and try.
There's this sequence in yoga. It's called the 26 posture sequence, where I don't know if you're familiar
No,
with it. It's
definitely
hot
not.
yoga. So first of all,
No.
you're in a 105-degree room. It's
Wow.
like 95% or 90% humidity. It's warm in there. And the sequence builds up into the final peak pose, which is called triangle pose, and it's just a very athletic stance. Your legs are wide, your arms are spread out, and you're leaning over, and you're balanced, and you're pulling and you're pushing. And the purpose is to hold that pose for 1 minute.
Wow.
And it's exhausting in that environment after you've done all of these warm-up exercises.
Mhm.
And the teachers and the instructors always say, if you can handle it here, you can handle it elsewhere. And I think that reframe that you are in this phase in your life that you're constantly doing, that I'm even hearing in your voice, like I reframe that struggle to say, like, I can do that, or I'm equipped with these skills, or I can tolerate a little bit more rejection than the other guy because they've never had to deal with a
Exactly.
stutter or this challenge or that challenge. So I think that's so powerful, that reframing exercise. Like, you've gone through some stuff, you reframe it and make it a gift, like I think your dad said, like,
Right.
what gift is this providing? And that's so cool.
Because we're so fast, I think, to try and chase after happiness or feeling great all the time. But I think pain isn't sexy, right? You don't want to get in pain because pain is hard. But a lot of things that we learn in life come through pain. Like if you want to be a patient person, you have to go through things that test you. You can't just have like all these like affirmations about being a patient person. You have to go through things to prove it to yourself.
Right. Kind of like running a marathon.
Exactly. Which, by the way, that was brand new. I started that like 4 months ago. So we're going from 0 running to now a marathon in February. So don't know why I'm doing it, but I guess peer pressure, friends, right? That's why we're doing it actually.
Good
So,
luck. And I'm sure you'll learn. I used to run long distances, also marathons, when I was your age, and
Wow.
things were easier.
So we're
for
both
me.
crazy. So there we
Yeah,
go.
and I think the ability, what I loved about it, and what I remember about running, which to me applies to public speaking or improving, is especially when I was at 18, 19, 20 miles, was it wasn't about, oh, I'm going to run 20 miles. I remember I used to go to school in Los Angeles, and I used to run on the beach, and there was basically these like trash cans every like 50 yards. And I remember one of my training runs, it was 22 miles, which is I think the longest training run that you do, which I think you will do.
Yeah.
And I remember all I would do was look for that like 50-yard trash can. It's like, that's where I want to go. And a lot of people I think have a similar experience when they're running long distance. It wasn't about getting to the 26.2 miles. It was, I just want to get to that trash can. And you're like, oh, I got to the trash can. Or even when I'm holding that triangle pose in the 26 posture class, it's like, I just want to get to 10 seconds, and then 20, and then 30, and then 31. And then now I'm at the point where I can hold the posture, but I want to get to it where I can breathe in and breathe out very calmly. So there's all these little growth moments that add up to make you, and then sometimes you forget to look back, like, oh, look at all this progress I made. So I encourage you to look back on all the progress you've made.
Because we're trying to fight all these like dragons, but like to your point, you want to do like trash can. Because then it's like bite-sized goals. Because 20 miles is kind of a scary number. But just doing like trash cans, you have like 500 trash cans, and it seems a little bit more doable because it's less in your face. Yeah. Same for speaking. You don't think to yourself, 10 years, you think next meeting. You don't try and fire hose yourself with all this information right now, right? So.
Yeah. And I want to encourage you, and I need to remind myself, especially we're recording this at the end of the year, to look back and celebrate. Sometimes we work every 50 yards, or we work till the next trash can or whatever.
Yeah.
But when we get to the 18 or 22 or 26 miles or the speech, whatever, look back and look past that, the one trash can, look past the 500 that you passed. And I think that is also really important.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I want to ask one more question about Dawn, who was a kind of a mentor and a coach to you and really helped you break out of your initial shell. What was going through your head when he was emailing you and you said, yes, I'll go to your house? What was that to practice my public speaking, or I will, be that willing, coachable person? Paul Bruno Feuilleter always talks about coaches, but also being coachable.
Exactly.
So just tell me more about that interaction in the moment you said, I'm going to be coachable in this. I want to get better.
Well, my first thought was he cares, because after 7 emails, like, oh gosh, dude, like chill. But it was after a while, like, okay, he must care and see something in me, because he watched me speak one time. So he knew I had potential there or something. I think for being coachable, I don't know where that comes from. I guess I just saw like how amazing he was, because he had gone through all these contests and he had won them. I thought, okay, if I could one day be like Don, one day, it'd be like fantastic. And so I would do whatever he told me to do, which was tough because sometimes we practice like the same speech like a dozen times, which isn't fun. But it's like the price to pay to become like him one day. So but I think you have to put yourself around great people. So feel free to like remove yourself from like the wrong crowds and then go to where your models are. So maybe it's in some club, some group, like find out where you want to be and then find those people and like latch onto them. And then then try and be coachable from that point then.
Nice. That you talking about giving speeches over and over. One of the previous guests on our podcast, he shared great speeches aren't written, they're rewritten, meaning you just rework them. And speaking of great speeches, you mentioned to me before we started that you also are working on your international contest speech. Do you want to share a little bit about the topic or how you're working through to prepare for now from barely being able to say your own name to now competing at the Toastmasters International stage?
Yeah, so I actually am in 2 clubs. And so for my last club, I won the club contest already through them.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. So that was with 3 speakers. But for Dobson Ranch, you guys are like legit. You guys have like 60 plus people in there. So it's going to be a bigger competition.
But you've already won.
Yes,
so
I'm going on
at
to
the area contest.
Yes, so I'll be there.
Very exciting.
But it's all about the story, about the stutter, about trying to find like your gifts from pain, because we all have our own pain, we all have our own struggles, but don't hide from it. Like embrace that part of yourself and then learn to love it and then go after it. I think in that way. And for the club contest, it was amazing because I had to practice that same speech so many times. I gave it to 5 different people, got their feedback, and then fixed it, and then did some more tweaking for the tonality, the pacing, the content. So I think for contest, you learn a lot about polishing up one speech, just to making it perfect.
I can't wait. I know our contest is in January.
Yes.
But that's a month away, actually, a month away from today. You have
Really?
one more month
Good
for
timing.
international. That is so exciting. I want to get into another aspect of your other speech that you talked about, and it's advice to people who are going through this experience or through this transformation like you. And you shared something about writing down your limiting beliefs and a toolkit or almost a practice of how you take those limiting beliefs and take it to the place where it's productive for you. So can you talk a little bit about that exercise of writing down those beliefs?
So my best tip actually is to know your numbers. And so for all like your belief systems, write them down, like score them. So for me, I have this like spreadsheet. I write down all of my skills, all my beliefs, and I like write down like where am I at currently. So for like speaking, I have like a 1 out of like 10 ratio. So you're like learning each time through that. So my main thing is you write down all like your beliefs and then you try and like change them. So for example, if you think I can't make friends, instead think I'm open to connection. And then your brain will try and find ways to like prove you right. Like each time you try and talk to somebody or you make some joke, it's proving this time and that time that he was open to that connection. And then add like your number, because that way you see progress through like numbers, because numbers don't lie to you, right? Whereas like your feelings can like tell you're like a loser, but numbers are like, this happened, I have this data point, I have this evidence, and you build from that number slowly over time. So for example, when I go to this club, I write down my number is like growing by like 0.1% today. Small gains, but it still like adds up to that number for my skill spreadsheet.
I am a huge Excel nerd.
Me too. I have all these spreadsheets for everything.
That's awesome. I think I am definitely not at the level of you are for tracking, but I think it's really what the and not everyone may be Excel nerds.
Right.
But I really like the idea of writing down your belief or where you think you're at today and where you want to be, and then training your mind, putting on that lens that we've been talking about this whole time of looking for these confirmation things that are really out there that sometimes you turn yourself off to just because of your mindset.
Right.
Yeah. I really liked that aspect of rewiring your beliefs and your habits.
Because this quote came from Paul, actually. He was saying, if let's say you're at like a 7 out of like 10 for some skill, thinking, how did I get from like a 7 to an 8 for this area? So now you're like in problem solving mode and not in like some pity party mode, but now you're thinking, going from this number to this number, what will it take on my part to get to that portion or that skill?
Yes, I like that. Yeah, problem solving mode versus pity party.
Exactly.
Problem solving versus pity party. I love it.
New like
Plus,
hit jingle, new like song on every t-shirt.
Yes,
there.
I'm gonna brand that.
Make it.
That's really good. I'm integrating this now because we're at the end of December while we record. Great time for reflecting on the year, goal setting, and I'm gonna do this exercise. Like I've already started thinking about the things that I want to improve, and that's so cool. Matt, I want to take us back to second grade Matt in Miss Sylvia's class, about to go on or maybe just finished sitting down after kind of being ridiculed from the class, as second graders do. If you could go back and talk to yourself, what would you tell second grade Matt?
It's a really good question. It's like time travel in there, and I would tell him to not hide, because I can't tell him, hey, don't stutter. I would say, hey, get on stage and just embrace it. Because as a kid, you want to feel like you're popular, like you have friends, like you belong to something. But I would tell him, trust in the process. Like, don't hide, be yourself, and put in like the reps. Because you think in that moment, I'm broken, I can never be good. But I would show him like if you put like enough work and time in, one day you'll be a great speaker. But you just can't see that. So trust in my vision for you. Don't trust in your vision. Like see it through my eyes. That's what I would tell him.
I like how you said that you're always going to have this stutter, this a part of you, whether it's a stutter or something else that you
Right.
wanted, that you're born with or have to grow through or whatever. I have really long legs. So in yoga, certain postures are really easy for me, but certain ones are really hard, and you can't change that, but you can change your attitude
Exactly.
and your approach. And sometimes, honestly, having really long legs and really long arms is an asset, and I can do things that other people wish they could do. And I think it's the same for you. There's strengths and areas we can grow through. So I that was really powerful, like acknowledging that we are who we are.
Yeah,
and
it's
not
so easy
trying
to say,
change.
I'm short, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm stupid. Like we all have these like statements, but take that and try and flip it on what you can do from that point. Because you can't go from that place of lack. You have to go from where you can and then build from that
Problem
point.
solver,
Exactly. Problem solver,
ignoring the pity
ignore
party.
the pity party, all of it. Yes.
Matt, as we start winding down on the podcast, is there anything else that you wanted to share or that came to mind from this conversation that I haven't asked you about yet?
I would say to work for future you. So I like imagine like 80-year-old Matt, and I'm like working for him, and we're like trying to like work together here on our goals and our visions. And so if I screw that guy over, it's gonna like fall apart, right? And so I think work for future you, make his dreams come true.
Oh, that is so good. And I really connect to that too when it comes to dieting and exercise. I always think, oh, I really want, one of the reasons I chose yoga is I really wanted the long-term benefits and the mobility and the strength
Right.
and flexibility. So I wanted to be able to get out of my chair when I'm 100 years old
Mm-hmm.
with no help. And that's powerful. Work for future you.
Because if you miss one day of yoga, it won't change you, but maybe like 80-year-old you, he'll feel that because you messed him up, you know? So I think working for him is like a skill.
Yeah. And I think what we said earlier is also being in the present, right? That trash can analogy of we're working towards the 80-year-old us, but we're going to break it down into just the next 50
Bite size.
yards.
Yes.
And then we're looking forward, and we're also celebrating when we
Because then you'll
look
go
back.
crazy because you'll be thinking about all this stuff constantly. You have this be like present and just go from that point.
Exactly. Matt, there's so many great things that I'm going to copyright from this conversation and sell.
It's trademarked. you
Yeah,
know?
okay.
Like
I'll share the proceeds.
licensing fee.
That's been great. We've talked about superpowers from your stutters and all of these great concepts. I think that for those trying to improve public speaking or really anything, that it's been great. Okay, Matt, I want to pivot to my rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You ready? And feel free to answer these quickly or take your time if there's
Okay.
a story. So what book, article, or podcast has inspired you recently?
We'll say Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
That's a classic book. I think people should all read that.
Napoleon Hill, right?
Yes.
I bought that book on sale, and it's on my desk
You should read
to
it.
read.
It's really good.
Okay, done. Love it. I
Do it, yeah.
have the physical copy,
Do
too. I
it.
got it for like $2.
Yeah, it's cheap because it's been out for like 1,000 years now. It's been like a long time. So,
Okay,
yes.
that's on my list. Matt, you are an international public speech contest winner. So you're an expert now.
Yes.
What is your biggest public speaking pet peeve or something you wish speakers would stop doing?
Not being authentic, so like fake crying or trying to force something too much. So I think just be like yourself, and then people will feel it from that point.
Oh, so good. I think the last conversation we had, we were talking about on the podcast was AI and
Yes.
authenticity. And there's going to be this vacuum of authenticity. We're already seeing AI slop all over the internet and all over everything we interact with, emails and whatever. And I think that message of authenticity is something I'm going to start incorporating into this podcast as well, because I think people are already craving it and they're going to crave it more. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah. And for like speech writing too, like you can't have AI write your whole speech for you. That's just kind of lazy, and people will be able to tell it's not your voice speaking to them.
Authenticity.
Exactly.
Coming more to this podcast.
Coming soon.
Yes, here and coming soon, and more of it.
To all theaters near you.
Quick pick. What is your go-to way to communicate or collaborate? Are you an email person, a text person, in person, Zoom, Slack? What do you like?
Okay, text is great because text is very like direct. Like, be here in 5 minutes. It's very much like, here's what's gonna happen. So I would say texting because it's just very point and dry. There's no chances to like know what I was saying. It's just like very clear for communication.
Yeah, that's good. I think text is. I'm a big texter as well, honestly. Okay, Matt. What was your last major speaking gig, and what did you learn from it?
So I'm brand new to speaking, so I'll say the speech contest, which was last week. And I learned to practice over and over again, because what seems natural to some people is a lot of this like work on making sure that your timing's correct. And then have no ego. Don't be afraid to ask for help, to ask someone to like watch your speech and give some feedback. Because if you think that you're amazing, you're already going to start to drop, because you need to always be learning on how to grow from speaking.
I always share on this podcast that practicing is an exercise in vulnerability. Like you just said, put your ego at the door.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons people hate practicing is you have to show your crusty edges of the speech.
Yeah, you do.
And I don't like to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But practicing is so important, and being vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm working on this, give me some feedback, is so important. And then the other reason practice is important is that effortlessness that comes from it. People look on the outside and say, oh, you're a great public speaker. Oh, you're a great podcast host. And they never see all the work that goes in to get to that point. I remember I was Toastmaster for a meeting, and I did all of these things. And I remember sitting in my room at night thinking through every click that I was going to do on the screen, because I wasn't going to be able to see it.
Right.
When I was going to turn on the music. I had this whole elaborate technology extravaganza in one of the meetings, and it went off so smoothly, but it's because I tried the projector a million times. I knew exactly the click and the feel of the click. And then even at night, I was thinking through, not in a kind of super neurotic or anxious way. I was constantly it's a thing they teach you in yoga, to just visualize it. I was visualizing the sequence just in bed, in my body, to feel it.
Right.
And when we got there, it was like, it went off with a hitch, but there's so many places, you know how it is with PowerPoint and technology,
Exactly.
that it could have failed. So I really appreciate those two messages.
Whereas I can't see all of that. I just think, wow, he's like a natural, he's just like amazing, but you put all of this work into it to then have that outcome. So.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's important to know that behind the scenes, there was a lot.
Yeah, for speaking, for any skill out there.
Okay. What's one piece of advice you'd give to a new public speaker?
Don't be afraid to look stupid. I have bombed a lot of speeches. You have to just get up there and just try over and over again. Because if you think you have to like protect some sort of like reputation or look a certain way or be cool, you'll miss out on all these chances to practice and do rep after rep for learning.
Yeah. And I think being able to be vulnerable and
Yes.
make mistakes on stage is authentic. And I remember the first time you gave a speech after you missed the first one, you came back, and I was instantly like drawn to you for that authenticity of like, I am facing my fear, but I'm here. And to me, that was so inspiring. And I remember emailing you afterwards, like, this was amazing. Like, let me know how I can help, because that people are afraid to show their crispy bits. And that is the most exciting part. And that's where people connect. And that's how I felt connected with you. And when I saw your next speech, that's why I was like, I need to bring this guy on the podcast. So you have a wisdom in you that I think people much older maybe don't necessarily have. You've experienced a lot.
Thank you. I think a lot of people have like the same job for 30 plus years, same hobby. I think don't be like afraid to change things up, take more risks, take chances, just get out there.
So good. Okay, Matt, if people want to reach out to you and connect because you've inspired them, how can they get you on your socials? How can they reach out to you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. It's Matt Malan, Malan 6.
Matt Malan 6.
Yes.
Got it. Well, thank you, Matt. This was a powerful, inspiring, quote-worthy conversation. I can't wait to put the clips up online.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for tuning in. If you want to hear more, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, we encourage you to speak Arizona.